Hello everyone, I am Misuru Samaranayaka, the author of this study titled Impact of Identity Fusion and Pro-Group Motivation on Employees' Productivity. And this is an experimental survey. So to move forward with our study, let me start here. Group work. We know this really important, especially when it's come to uh, manufacturing organizations, even in general for organizations, and let me refer manufacturing organizations. Because we should work together, we should go through different processes, we have to contact, we have to think of teamwork, team effort. Anyhow, pandemic create a barrier where we need to maintain social distances. So we will think of our own boundary, safe zones. Let me focus one example, brandings. For example, so this picture from the first wave, during the first wave from the pandemic, so in brandings, so what we can say, okay, still we gather, but ensuring social distancing. And then with the second wave, now we'll not gather in such places, but we'll gather as small meetings to move forward. And then finally, with the third wave, now we had to think of online version. This procedure makes significant impact on employees. So how? So we can think of numerous approaches, and then altogether, which about our motivation, employees' motivation. So pandemic impact motivation. So employees are demotivated. Even now, the thing is, the usual strategies we'll use. For example, one of effective strategy will be financial motivations. But now, even pandemic damage the financial stability of organizations, and organizations are facing difficulties to provide financial motivations. Then now the challenge is how to obtain the maximum effort from existing employees. Now, then, from our observations, what we found, it's very important to think of identity. Now, here from Krug et al., so their study show how pandemic impact individuals in organizations, and especially why the concern on identity going to be important factor. And even according to Knippenberg and even LMS, so they even highlight the importance of identity, especially fused identity. So this fused identity, or we'll say identity fusion, have potential to improve motivation. And then this led us to think more about this factor. Now, what about this identity and identity fusion? So then according to Zone et al., we know identity means the sense of self, and which represent qualities, beliefs, personality, and number of factors that make you a person, and even which will describe a group as well. And fusion. So fusion means the degree of match in between identities of an individual and a group, or we can consider society as well. Then, in general, match between individuals and groups and the way they perceived their relationship reflects to this the degree of identity fusion. Now, to measure it, we can use such structures. Here we see classification from A to E, and this shows us the notion of fusion. So when it comes to category E, it is obviously the fusion, and other categories will show us how we'll go towards fusion, thinking of self and group. Then our key objective to examine the nature of impact from identity fusion on pro-group motivation and productivity of employees, even to observe whether this impact we are looking forward for have potential to improve the performances in the Sri Lankan manufacturing sector during this health crisis. So we have three expected outcomes. Number one, identity fused subjects are pro-group motivated, and the second expected outcome is about pro-group motivated subjects will exert more effort than those who are not motivated. And then third one, which says identifused subjects will exert more effort than non-identifused subjects. Now, the methodology is going to be a real effort experiment, and we used quantitative data collected through an online experiment, and we used a sample of 152 employees from uh, the Sri Lankan apparel industry, obviously them from Quantum Cloth in Lanka, Brankis Altazia from Gilitari and Polonnaru. So this is our experimental framework where we use two dictator games. Dictator game 1 to measure pro-social concerns and dictator game 2 to measure pro-group concerns. And then the structured survey used to collect some important information, inclusive of some key demographic informations, and then the treatment comparison uh, using different effort tasks. Then to analyze, we use simple regressions, inclusive of important descriptive analysis. So for regressions, we have two different regressions for baseline and treatment to compare the treatment effect. Then results. So first we review some important findings using clustered bar diagrams. Now here we can see these bar diagrams represent a comparison between pro-social and pro-group motivations with identification. Now what we can observe clearly here, at both tasks, the majority who donate higher amounts are fused individuals, are fused subjects. So this gives us a nice idea. So once you fused, then you will donate more. And the next one, here we compare employees' effort with identification. Now, how we compare here? So we use three uh, tasks we utilize in our experiment. Them are work from home and support workloads of peers during COVID, and even support workload of organization during COVID. And what we can see, obviously, again, the individuals who happy to support always, happy to work from home always, and even happy to support workloads of peers and even organization are more pierced. Here are our regression results. First, we test normality for our data, and which we found obviously our data set is not normally distributed, and then we thought of going for uh, non-parametric analysis. So then we thought of going for non-parametric regression, and then there we can see the model fitness for our non-parametric regressions. Both models fine in tune with model fitness, and then we go for the analysis statistical outcomes for non-parametric regressions, and here we go with the outcomes. Now what we can see here, first, donations to the organizational COVID fund significant, and also we can see some concerns like uh, the personal impact from COVID had a significant impact on their effort. So once they think of a personal impact, and especially we can see the factors like I'm part of my organization and I give my best to the organization than others and always support success of organizations, then they really impact. Now this gives us a bit different measure, which is significant but negative, which shows us concerns about lifelong service have some negative impact. So if they think of being there for a long time, seems like not that much effective, even seems like another important finding. Then let me summarize findings. So we found that majority who donated high amounts to the COVID funds are identified, and even our descriptive and rigorous evidences support that pro-group motivated subjects exert more effort than the subjects who are not motivated, and even identifused subjects exert more effort than non-identifused subjects. Then in conclusion, all results support our expected outcomes and which obviously verify our hypothesis. Even these results in line with the literature like Son et al., Newson et al., and even the way they describe fusion and performances. Also, then we can consider about internal validity of our outcomes because we can utilize them then for particular organization to think of employees' performances and to improve their performance while thinking of IT fusion. So that is what from our side, and thank you very much. And feel free to ask questions.